I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the AWM NFL Podcast. My name is Riccardo Stewart. I'm your host, and I'm joined with my friends Sam Acho, the mayor, Zach Miller, who we call the Truth, and Jeff Locke, who we call the Professor because he's always dropping knowledge. Fellas, before we even jump into the podcast, it seems like we're all at home. I mean, this is a few weeks after the draft. Many of us have been traveling, getting our guys situated. Sam, let me start first with you before we even jump into the topic is what's life like in Dallas right now?
Well, it's getting hot in Dallas. It's about to be 100 degrees tomorrow, which is the record high for this time of year. But it's good. It's good. I've got a chance to be home a little bit more with family, which has been great. Obviously on the road a little bit, headed on the road tomorrow for some meetings and some to connect with some athletes and to speak. And so all is well, but things are getting ready to slow down before they rev up again.
Well, before I get to Zach, which I know it's hot where he's at because I'm in the same office, Jeff, you got a jacket on. What's LA like?
You know, the number one rule living in LA is you don't complain about the weather to anyone not in LA. So it's nice in LA. Cannot complain. Might get a little hot, but nothing like that AZ and Texas heat you boys are about to go through.
Yeah. Zach, I mean, give us a glimpse of what's it like. I mean, you've been coaching youth football outside in the weather in Phoenix. Holler at me.
Hey, it's hot. All I know is you get tough playing football in Phoenix in this kind of weather. And I actually got my first exposure to the Red Zone Elite tournament. Was the first one I had my 10U boys in. And let me just tell you, there's some athletes out there, and that whole world's insane. It's a lot of fun though. Midnight Madness tournament. So really enjoyed doing that with the boys.
Yeah, just on that note, I was where Zach was with the Red Zone Elite, and then moving forward, and the kids I used to coach now are all in high school, and they're starting all to receive their first Division I offers, and so I'm excited to see that. And so, I mean, we probably got ourselves some future clients here, but draft over, talking about the draft guys, you know, I want to really focus now on the conversations we've been having with many potential clients of ours that have reached out to us and talking about, okay, now I have 50 million. I got 60 million. Like, what needs to change? What sort of advice should I have from a financial standpoint that's non-negotiable? And guys, what I'm talking about is not necessarily what investments should I be in, private or public market, really going like stepping back and look at the financial world and going, when it comes to my options out there, like what should an ultra high net worth athlete have? And what I usually say is there's three I's that we talk about. And one is you need to make sure wherever you're at, it's independent advice. And then when it comes to all of your assets and anything that your money touches, that your plan should be integrated. And then lastly, it should be individualized. Those three I's, right? It should be independent, integrated, and individualizing. So I'm gonna ask you guys to go ahead and talk about each one of those I's. And first, I'm gonna start first with you, Professor. So if you can start off with some knowledge, as it talks about independent, what does that actually mean when I say to someone, hey, you want to make sure that your advice is independent?
Yeah, so independent is actually looking at the structure of the company or the firm that you're working with. Everyone might be built a little bit different, and you got to get a little bit into the nitty gritty. You got to do a little bit of research to figure out who you're actually dealing with when it comes to financial advice. So what you want is advice that is specific to you, not just kind of advice that's kind of suitable to you or like, hey, it might kind of fit your circumstance. And what I mean is when you work with certain types of companies, think really big banks, think places, insurance companies, think anything that is publicly owned, right? Traded on the stock market. Their first answer, who they first answer to, is the people that invest in their company, right? Millions of people are owners of their companies. Their number one responsibility is profit for the company. Number two responsibility is advice to you, okay? So being independent means you don't have that big boss you got to answer to driving the profit, right? Independent also comes down to the investments that you can be put in, the investments you can actually choose, or your advisor can help you choose in your portfolio. When you're not independent, I hate the term, but they call it a menu, right? All these big companies essentially create this menu, like you're at a place getting dinner. These are the different investments you can choose from, and it's only this menu. You can't go back to the chef in the back and be like, hey, I want this special order. They're like, nah, this ain't that kind of place, right? That's when you're not independent. You've got this menu. When you've got wealth, like Riccardo talked about, you need a lot of stuff off menu. You need to be able to go to any farmer's market you want, any restaurant in the world, and pick the best possible things for your situation. Independent firms can do that. Firms that are not independent cannot do that. So to sum it all up, independent means client first. Best advice for the client, not what's best for the company first. And we kind of just try to fit it in to what the client needs.
It was good. It was helpful. So if I start first with independent, okay, the next thing is we say is we want, or you should have advice to everything your money touches, and it should be integrated. Truth. Why don't you drop some knowledge for us and understand what does it mean by integrated? And maybe, I don't know if you have experiences yourself and when it's not integrated. I know you do. So let's hear it. There's no what you have to say.
So integrated, I mean, when it comes down to your money, you have that one net worth, what kind of all your wealth you have, that's your net worth. And then you have one effective tax rate, meaning you could have a bunch of investments, you could have a bunch of deals, you could have a bunch of income from the NFL, but all of that goes on that one tax return. So everything is together. And so your team has to work closely together, and no decision you make is isolated. There's not little silos where this doesn't matter over here and this doesn't affect that. Everything affects each other. And if you think about generational wealth, you're making 50 million, you have the opportunity for generational wealth. You have taxes, investments, insurance, estate, business, legal, philanthropy, and that's the whole nonprofit, all that. All of that is tied together. And so you have to have different positions, just like you do on the football field, whether it's quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs. You have to have the same elite kickers, this kicking game for sure. You have to have that entire elite team, all the best at what they do, and one person can't do that. And so that integration of your team and how good they can work together, they can't be siloed and have, one guy that doesn't talk to another guy. And I had a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch, smart guy, nice suit, did well talking. And then I had another good CPA, and they both did their part. They both did their thing, but not together. The result of that is I paid $2 million more in taxes than I didn't have to, because they weren't together. They weren't working as one. And so let that sink in. That's not a rounding error. That's bad coordination by my team that you don't have to experience if you have them all working together in that fully together, coordinated, cohesive unit, just like a football team that goes out on the field with the coaching staff that's all on the same page, all working together to ultimately win the game. Your team has to be put together to do that. And you can't do that with just guy over here, guy over there, and hoping they get it right. You have to have that fully integrated team of professionals to make sure that you have the best chance of achieving that generational wealth.
So we step back. We go first, it has to be independent, right? Understanding who do they answer to first? Is it going to be shareholders or is it going to be you? And then when it comes to the options you have to invest, I think Jeff said it best. Do you want the menu from the restaurant and only the restaurant can provide? What makes me think, that reminds me of Jeff, like being at this breakfast place, and the lady came and asked my son, my youngest at the time, he was like 7 years old, how would you like your eggs? And he goes, what do you mean? Would you like them scrambled? Would you like it over easy? And he says, yeah, hard boiled. And she looked at him and goes, actually, we don't do that. And that's what it's like in the financial world. You think you're ordering something that's on the menu, but if you want something that's off the menu, you better be with somebody who is independent. And then integrated, Jeff, what you're saying is you don't want an offensive coordinator who shows up on Sunday, who doesn't know the players, doesn't understand your strengths and weaknesses, who begins to call plays, and a receiver who doesn't come to practice, actually practice with a completely different team. So there's no true coordination. And then lastly, we get to a plan that's individualized. Sam, I saved this for you because you are the mayor and you're a man of the people. So the individualization of a plan is something I feel like you would get. So drop some knowledge for us.
The best thing about an individualized plan, and I'm not even going to talk about the best thing, I think why you deserve an individualized plan. I'll start with the story. So some of the work I do is at AWM. I also work at ESPN, and I wear suits oftentimes. And I remember going to Italy. This was about 10 years ago. And my dad, he's a business guy, he pastors a church, he's a psychologist, wears a ton of suits. He's like, hey man, we're in Italy, I think we're in Milan, and there was this really expensive suit. And I was like, yeah, I don't know how to pay, X amount of dollars for this expensive suit. He's like, dude, trust me, like you want to get this suit. It's like silk, it's like butter, etc. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'll get the suit. But mind you, I'm 6'3", 260. Italy people, Italians, they ain't like that. But they had a suit that was like big enough that would kind of fit, but it wasn't like exactly fitting. And I was like, what do I do? Well, thankfully in Italy, where fashion essentially began, they had this custom tailor. Essentially, he was a man who was in his 80s who for his entire life had been tailoring suits to fit people's bodies, individual people's bodies. He was a master tailor, a master tailor. That's the class. Well, so I got the suit, he measured my body, right? Master tailor didn't speak a lick of English, and came back, and a few days later or hours, whatever it was, I got the suit. I paid for the suit. It was very expensive. But I brought it back, and when I put it on and say that it fit like a glove, like not only did I look different, not only did I feel different, but the way that I presented to the world was different. It wasn't a suit from Big and Tall, one of those things you get off the rack. It was individualized to my body and to my job, right? It was like, man, I wore that suit. I did stuff at the White House wearing that suit with former presidents. I did stuff on ESPN wearing that suit, traveling while I was playing. Individualized, custom fit. Same thing when I was playing in Arizona. Larry Fitzgerald would always wear these custom sheets, custom jeans, custom everything. And it had to do with who he was. And so the benefit of having an individualized plan, a custom sheet, not something that's off the rack, is that, yes, it helps you feel good and look good, but it also helps go to the things that actually matter to you. I'm traveling for a game. I'm on ESPN. I got to go meet with this person or that dignitary. I need something custom and individualized to me. That's what you deserve, right? You talked about, Riccardo started this combo of, hey, somebody who's made $50 million, $70 million, $100 million, like, okay, you might have it might cost you a little bit more, but it's worth it because the things you get back in return, what you can afford, what you deserve, actually ends up paying you back more in the long run. And so when I think about something individualized or custom, I think that's what you deserve as one of the best in the world at what you do.
So to wrap it all together, you got to make sure you got a plan that's independent, a team that answers to you, not to somebody else. You got to make sure it's integrated, that there's not loose ends, but there's clear coordination. And then lastly, you got to have a suit that fits you for your purpose. So if your goals and you have a life that's planned for you, don't have somebody else's life. Don't have a plan for somebody else's life. Have a plan that's uniquely tailored to fit your dreams, your desires, your priorities, and your goals. If there's anything we said today that you're going, I'm curious about that, or I want to learn more about, like, what does it mean to be independent, or any questions you have, please reach out to us. You can send us a text at 602-989-5022.
This has been a production of AWM Capital, the Athlete Family Office. Reach out to the team at athletefamilyoffice.com or by calling or texting 602-989-5022. All opinions expressed by the hosts are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of AWM Capital. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon in any manner as professional advice or an endorsement of any practices, products, or services. There can be no guarantees or assurances that the views expressed here will be applicable to any particular facts or circumstances and should not be relied upon in any manner. You should consult your own advisors as to legal, business, tax, and other related matters concerning any investment. Clients and employees of AWM Capital may maintain positions in the securities or companies discussed in this podcast.